What's going on, Spitfires? Welcome back to the Spitfire podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Lemunyon, the Spitfire Coach, coming to you with another episode to light you up, get you motivated, have you blazing all those trails that you want. We keep it short, sweet, and to the point. So if you are not already subscribed, this is a great reminder to go to where you get your podcasts from. Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can go to spitfirecoach.com/episode to review any of our over 200 episodes. We have been at it since 2017, and there's no quitting this. We're going to keep going until there's nothing left to talk about, which, given the way things are going in the world, we got a lot to talk about. And today is no different. This is a new topic, but something that stuck out like a sore thumb. And I was like, we got to cover this because I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired. Like, I think this might be my pet peeve of 2025. And maybe it's been my pet peeve all along, but I didn't give it a name. And now we have it. We're talking about performative leadership. If you have ever encountered someone who is quick to throw out the trendy buzzword of the moment, maybe they've read a Harvard Business Review article, maybe they are on Instagram or LinkedIn and they are like, ooh, this sounds good to me. You know, it was servant leadership for a while, inclusive leadership. DEI was in the headlines for a long time. Now it's in the headlines for a different reason. But whatever is of the moment that people start speaking to, back when I first started working in the early 2000s, oh my God, at the turn of the century, I remember it was like synergies, and people were trying to like meld two words together. But basically, it's not a problem to talk about these things. What is a problem is when people become these kind of mantra vomiting or like sounds good vomiting, whatever the term is, like they're just saying it, but they're not being it. And I can typically sniff this out like nobody's business. Last week, I was at a couple networking events, and there's kind of this posture up that people do. Like it's almost like the Robin with like their proud chest, where they're like, oh, I'm going to tell you all of the great things that I know about myself. And so my favorite thing to do is ask them questions, not in an interrogating way, but I'm like, tell me more. And I will tell you every time. These types of leaders take the bait. They go on and on and on and on. Now, the way that you can kind of, I'll say covertly or gently expose someone who is a regurgitator, not really someone who stands in it, is to ask them, so what does that mean to you? So I had a leader, I had a company that I was doing work with, and they were notorious for claiming that they were a psychologically safe environment. Well, we're psychologically safe. We're psychologically safe. And finally, I just stopped and I said, what does that actually mean to you? When you say that you are psychologically safe as a leader, as an organization, as a team, what does that mean to you? And they couldn't answer it. They tried to go back to the definition and tell me the right answer, but they didn't tell me their answer, because the reality is they didn't go through the transformation to even know what it meant, what it felt like, any of that. They were so in the transaction of learning or of absorbing and regurgitating, like we're all trained to do from school, that they missed the point of the entire exercise and the entire training and the entire work we were doing. And ultimately, we didn't end up working with them much longer after that, because I realized, oh, wow, you just want to say that you're psychologically safe. You don't actually want to be psychologically safe. And it was I could tell the signs with all the employees and everything else. So ask yourself first if you might catch yourself saying, I am these things. My favorite is when people say, I'm an empath. Well, what does that mean to you? Oh, I feel things. So you're empathetic. So it's just little things like that people like to kind of put themselves on this pedestal label. But it's just about asking people a little bit further, like, what does that actually mean to you? How does that show up? Because otherwise, it's just semantics. Like it's just throwing out a label and hoping that people are like, oh, I know who you are. You're so wonderful, without actually like saying, I want to know more. Like, who else is that? So it goes from like surface level to a deeper rooted sense of self. And we did this executive forum with a group of leaders about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And this was one of the leaderships that we talked about, which is rooting into things that are constant, that are consistent, that aren't changing. And a lot of that has to do with who you are and how you show up, who you are in integrity and authenticity. So if you are constantly changing with the times of what's expected of you, if you're kind of like trying to pick up the latest fashion in your leadership style, your team picks up on that. Other people pick up on that. They're like, I don't know where I stand because this is constantly changing and shifting, and it's not rooted in anything really trust based. So the question that you need to kind of ask yourself is, who are you being as a leader with this? Like, does this align or is this in conflict? And if it's in conflict, then that's an opportunity of awareness to say, you know what? I want to be a more psychologically safer. I want to be a more inclusive leader. Where am I not in alignment with? Like, where does that kind of feel off? So for me, if I want to be more inclusive leader, it means that I got to get out of my house. I got to invite people into kind of my environment because I have a tendency of kind of being a lone wolf here of, producing things, and I'll reach out to team members and other people. But if I want to be more inclusive, I have to send more invites out and be more collaborative in that way. So the thing is like, this isn't a huge issue until now, because we are at an all-time low when it comes to trust. People don't trust the government, they don't trust the media, and they don't trust business. This is in the latest Edelman Trust Barometer for 2025. It just came out in January. There is this illusion of trust. Oh, we care about our people. You probably saw this in the summer of 2020 when people put the tiles up of, we Black Lives Matter. We stand for, with all of our diverse workplaces. Everyone started changing the tiles on their website. And I want you to go back and look at how many companies still have that. How many companies are still standing with their team members? They're not, because it was hollow. It was all lip service. It was all based on the surface level transaction of visual diversity, visual expectations. They wanted people to think that they had made the changes, but they really hadn't made any cultural shifts. They hadn't looked at their policies. They hadn't gotten rid of people who were killing their psychological safety and their culture, and they allowed it to keep going on. So a lot of people will say, well, we just need to do an offsite. We need to do team building exercises. And that's great for my business. Like, I get brought in there and I tell them, this is not a one and done thing. This is something that you really need to look at a long-term solution for, because just doing a trust fall with somebody is not going to get you trust in your organization. People are going to think it's kind of corny. They're like, don't touch me. And, honestly, don't do trust falls anymore. They're kind of awful. But anything that feels forced, people are going to sniff out. Like, we're going to have Forced Fun Fridays. And nobody calls it that. But they're like, yes, we're going to have our, like, when it was the pandemic, we were all working from home. It was like these virtual happy hours. And it was painful because people didn't want to be there. They would rather be outside with their families, getting fresh air. They would rather have their time back. And so it's looking at, what is it that people actually want? What is it that people actually need? And first, starting with yourself. But anytime that you're doing this like song and dance routine, if it feels like a veneer, it is. If it feels like you're putting on an act, it is. And it's so exhausting. And people can see right through it. Like, you're not fooling anybody. So I would encourage everyone to be a little bit more authentic, and not in the I'm being my authentic self, but like, cut the crap, really. Like, let's just cut the nonsense and the theatrics, because people are looking for a home to trust. They are looking for somewhere where they literally can just exhale and not freak out about what's happening in the world or what's happening in their own household. There is so much fear living in Washington, D.C. There is so much fear and anxiety right now of whether or not people are going to have jobs. So to have to expect them then to put the smile on their face and say everything's great when they're freaking out it's not right. Like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say abuse, but it's just another thing that people have to deal with. It's exhausting, really. So the best thing you can do is give people the space to just not dump it on you, but unload it, of just saying, I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling scared. I've got a lot of worry, because allowing them to put it on the table can allow them to have a home for that energy, and they can move on. Actually, people are more productive when they can just say how they feel in that moment, and they don't have to feel like they hold it inside, because they're distracted otherwise. We have presenteeism to the nth degree, even though people are stressing out about getting work done, they're not able to get anything done because they can't focus. So the best thing that we can do is just like be real. Take a breath and just say like, I'm going to cut this right now. Like, what can I do that's more human? Like, don't even say authentic. What is more human? Like, how can I connect with this person as a human being right now? Not as someone that I'm managing, not as someone that reports to me, not as someone that I need deliverables from, but like, how can I in this moment just like give you grace? And I think if we can do that, this is where the opportunity is for this year and beyond this year is to really use trust as our currency, making it a priority to check in with people, to not just say, "How are you doing?" but ask them, how's your mom doing? How are things going, with that project you're working on? Get to know people better. We are social beings, but we are so starved for actual legitimate connection. And you will see so much more productivity and so much more collaboration because people are actually going to be attracted to places that make them feel good. And so imagine if the workplace, I know it's crazy to even think that, imagine if the workplace could be back to that home space. Because really at home, we are doom scrolling, we are looking at everything that's interrupting our flow and peace of mind. We've got, tons of things on our plate and worry around us. So imagine if we could create that safe space in the workplace. And it first starts with stopping the performative leadership. Be a real leader, be you as a leader, and build the trust that is going to pay off in dividends. This is something that should have been done, but it's all about taking action. It's all about being consistent. And it's all about just stopping what you're doing and taking a moment to look people in the eye and exhale all together. So I hope this was helpful. Pass it on to a friend if you think it was. Leave us a review, and y'all keep being awesome.